Ahoy! I have changed cameras over the years quite a bit. So here is Canon M6 Mark II and here is Sony A7S III, which is recording right now. I work as a YouTuber and I sell photos and videos on stock. And these are all the lenses I have in a studio. The question is, which lenses do I prefer? Which lenses do I like to use? And which lenses I don't use at all? They are literally catching dust, and why? And for the new faces, welcome. My name is Zdenka Darula. This channel is all about photography and video, creative camera challenges, hidden giveaways, tech reviews, tutorials, and vlogs. If that's something you're interested in, consider subscribing. I started this YouTube channel with Canon Vixia recorder. Then I moved on to Canon M50 and later on I upgraded to Canon M6 Mark II, which I use till this day. Much later I added to the studio Sony A7S III as the main camera for video. So these are the two cameras I use for close to 2 years now, and right now I don't have the need to change them. I'm perfectly happy with the choice. I prefer Canon M6 Mark II for photography and vlogging just because it is so small and so light. I liked the Canon M50 I had before, but then shortly I overgrown it. Simply there were specifications there which were not enough for me anymore. So when I stepped up to this Canon M6 Mark II, it was just a better choice for me. Sony A7S III I use as the main studio video camera and also for professional filming. I don't do way too much photography with this camera because the photo file size is not that big. However, I'm 100% happy with it when it comes to video. I don't feel like I need to look for anything else at all. This is way more than enough I need. And then I also use my iPhone 13 Pro as the third camera, but that's a whole different area. I've got 9 lenses here and a speed booster, mix of Canon, Sony, Tamron, TTartisan and Viltrox lenses. I'm going to start with a little Canon M6 Mark II. When I bought the camera, it came with a kit lens, which is this one. It's Canon 15 to 45mm f3.5 to 6.3 ISSTM. I used it a lot at the beginning when I did not have any other choice. I'm gonna be showing a whole bunch of footage from this lens as I'm explaining more. I like the zoom and the focal length. I didn't like this lens much in low light. I know that there was another choice as a kit lens, and that would be the Pancake 22mm lens f2STM. I know that I would have been happier in terms of performance with that lens because it's f2, not f3.5 to 6.3, so it would be better in low light. But what sold me on this one is the flexibility that I can zoom in and zoom out, and that's what I wanted. Do I use this lens now? Unfortunately, it's sitting on a shelf purely as a decoration. I don't remember the last time I really used this lens. What I replaced it with is this Viltrox 23mm f1.4 lens, which was sent to me for a review. Now, all the review videos of all the lenses, I'm gonna link it below in a video description in case you want to see it. This lens I absolutely love. It is pretty much permanently attached to this camera. I use it a lot when I'm recording outdoors. I use it when I was recording this smartphone filmmaking tutorial. I simply love the picture. I love the depth of field, the blurry background, because it makes the person really stand out. It performs extremely well in low light, as it should, because it is f1.4. If you're not familiar with the numbers, f is for aperture. So basically, the lower the number is, the more light you are going to get into the lens and into the camera, the better it's going to be in low light. I also use it lots when I'm shooting details of products, whenever I want to capture just a little portion of something. Of course, I bring the aperture a lot sometimes too. I don't only shoot at f1.4, I only shoot at that setting when it really makes sense. Next up is this nifty 50 lens, Canon EF 50mm f1.8 lens. This is for full frame cameras. I bought it many years ago when I was still shooting with DSLR To make it work with Canon M50 or Canon M6 Mark II, you need to use an adapter. I have a Comlight regular adapter here, and I also have Viltrox speed booster. I use this 50mm lens strictly for portrait photography. I don't use it for video at all because it is a very noisy lens when it comes to focus. This is how it sounds when you are using autofocus and you're recording a video. That is the reason I don't recommend it for video. For photography, that's a whole different story. It is a perfect portrait lens, there is no distortion. It is the closest to what your eye see if you're gonna be using the Comlight adapter. If you are going to be using the Viltrox speed booster, you will get even closer focal length as it multiplies there. This is a must for portrait photography. It's great in low light. Many years ago, I also bought this Canon extension tube EF25 version 2. Now it's a little bit broken. I broke this thing off. Actually, it broke on its own. No, I broke it. When you combine it with 50mm lens and the adapter, you're gonna get amazing macro lens. Now, I don't use it for video, again, because of the sound issue, and there's a lot of haunting there too. I would have to use it with manual focus, but I simply don't have the need to use it for video. For photography, again, it's a whole different story. When I used to shoot weddings, I loved this for any jewelry shots, for close-ups, of decorations. This is such a fun setup to have and use for photography. I used it all the time. I was like a little kid in a playground with this type of a setup, with the whole macro setup. Again, these days I don't really use it that much, but I'm gonna put it aside. I think I want to experiment a little bit when I'm shooting products, just to get little details there. I would simply never get rid of this. Moving up to the king of lenses. This is Canon EF 70-200mm lens f2.8, and I bought this one many years ago too. I would never simply sell this lens, never. They have newer version of this one, but this is still equally very good. It is a lens for full-frame camera, so I need to use it either with Comlight adapter or I can use it with Viltrox speed booster on the Canon M6 Mark II, which will give me even better zoom. I love this lens for both photography and video. It's got image stabilization built in, and no matter how much you're gonna zoom in, it's always gonna be f2.8. I've shot with this all weddings, all fashion shoots, all models, a lot of stock photos. This lens brought the return on investment multiple times. Beautiful quality, crisp images, great stabilization. What I always suggest is invest in great lenses. You will only need to buy them one time. Cameras, they come and go. They will have better camera with better specs and faster next year. Every year, there's always a load of new cameras. And they don't hold value. Lenses, they hold value. Don't spend all your money on a camera body. If you already own EF lenses and you're gonna get a camera like Canon M6 Mark II, for example, you might be wondering, should I get an adapter or should I get speed booster? That's one of the questions I get asked all the time as well. I use them both equally. What I love is that when I use an adapter, that is the focal length of the lens I would get with DSLR. But when I change it to Viltrox speed booster, I get a different focal length. It's just like having another lens instead of just one lens. So I cannot really recommend one over the other one. I use them both, and I'm glad I have both. Last lens I have for the Canon camera is TTartisan APS-C 50mm f1.2 lens. This is a fully manual lens. There's no autofocus, everything has to be done manually. This lens was sent to me for a review, and I also created a tutorial in that review how to actually use this kind of a lens. Personally, I would not use it for video, but for photography only. It was very cool to play with it. It is amazing for learning. The quality is there, no doubt. Because you have to set up everything manually, you will learn what distance and focal length and aperture is and the relationship between those numbers. Truthfully, do I use this lens now? No, I prefer autofocus. This is for a specific type of person, someone who is very patient and just loves everything manual all the way. I included it on the channel for educational purposes. Alright, let's look at the Sony camera and all the lenses I have. So far I have 4 lenses for that camera. I'm going to start with Tamron 17 to 28mm f2.8 lens. I bought this lens for a number of reasons. The lens is light, which is important for me as the camera is already heavy. The second reason was cost. It is way cheaper than Sony lens. Now, I would have to be really convinced to sell this lens and upgrade it to Sony lens for whatever I'm doing. I honestly don't have the need to have anything else. I'm super happy with it. I have it on the camera 99% of the time. It is the lens I use for everything. It has a great range. I can get super close, but I can also get a little bit further away. Because it is a light lens, it's easier for me to use it with a gimbal. Right after, I bought another Tamron lens. 28 to 75mm is also f2.8. So it's the same thing like the one before, which is actually recording right now. 17 to 28mm, it's just different focal length, 28 to 75. I don't use this lens all the time. I use it sometimes. I use it when I record tutorials like Filmic Pro and DJI OM5. I needed to get closer to record the smartphone screen, so this lens was the one I was using. Sometimes I use it when I need to do close-ups of products as well. I'm simply super happy with this one as well. There are 2 more lenses I would like to get to complete the Sony setup, and one of them would be telephoto lens, another Tamron 70 to 180mm f2.8, and I would like to have also something a lot wider than 17mm for city shots and architecture. I have not really researched anything yet, so I don't have anything specific in mind. There are 2 last lenses I have here. Both of them were sent to me for a review. The first one is Viltrox 24mm f1.8 FE. It is a very popular focal length, and because it is f1.8, it's going to be better in low light than my Tamron lens, which is f2.8. I don't use this lens too often though. I keep reaching for my other Tamron lens instead. I simply like the zoom, I prefer the zoom, but I certainly have this on hand in case I need something for low light. It's good to have a prime lens in your kit, which is very good in low light. The last one is Viltrox again, 50mm f1.8 FE. Great portrait lens, great in low light. Since I reviewed it quite recently, I haven't really used it all that much because I don't have it for so long. Time will tell if I'm gonna be reaching more for this one, but I have a feeling that I'm probably gonna be reaching more for the Tamron lens. I was also offered the 35mm Viltrox lens for review, but I declined that one because I simply don't see myself using that focal length that much. I hope that those who are deciding which lens to buy or put on the list found this somewhat helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and don't forget to subscribe for more. If you have any questions, comments, leave it below, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao, ahoj.